I sit before the oak table that has been with our family for over 40 years, on which rests a birthday cake with 65 candles flickering in the air-conditioned breeze. The living room is brightly lit but feels empty and cold. The scent of vanilla frosting rises, sweet but catching in my throat. I called each of my children a week ago, gently reminding them that this birthday is special, a milestone, 65, a day when family should gather. Yet now it's just me and the trembling candles. The phone stays silent. Messages about being busy, stuck in traffic, or sorry dad another time have repeated so often I know them by heart. I look at the sofa where the children's laughter should have echoed, but there's only the ticking of the clock and my own breath. The house I built brick by brick now resonates like an abandoned chapel. I force a smile, telling myself it's fine, but in my chest a dark void expands. Years ago, when they were young, I blew out their candles for them, wishing for a peaceful life for us all. Today, 65 candles wait for me, but no one bothers to come light a flame of love. I close my eyes, take a deep breath, and hear the candles crackle like mocking laughter. I make my only wish, to stay clear-headed enough to remember this moment, because it will mark the start of something entirely different. In that silence, I feel pain twist tightly, but also a spark of cold resolve forming. It's no longer the regret of a forgotten father, but the rising of a man who has sacrificed his life, and now realizes it's time to reclaim justice. I don't blow out the candles, I let the flames burn until they die out. Proof that this 65th year won't end in sorrow, but will open a chapter of vengeance no one expects. The last candle sputters out, leaving the smell of burnt wax and thin smoke lingering in the living room. I sit motionless, eyes fixed on the melted cake, my mind drifting back to my youth when I gave up everything to build a life for the children who didn't bother to show up today. I remember every number, every bill, every extra shift I took, hands calloused and bleeding, just to ensure they lacked nothing. Each receipt wasn't just a number, it was a piece of my life torn away. I recall the day Rachel got into college, her eyes shining as if the world had opened before her. A prestigious school in California, 4 years of tuition totaling over $200,000. I drove trucks cross-country, sleeping at rest stops to log extra hours. Whenever exhaustion made me want to collapse behind the wheel, I pictured her smile in a future graduation gown, and I forced my eyes open, forced myself to keep going. Where is she today? Probably at some fancy party, clinking wine glasses with colleagues, completely forgetting her father's birthday. Then there's Mark, my middle son. I dipped into my retirement savings, scraping together $320,000 for the down payment on his first house with his wife. I still remember that morning at the bank, hands trembling as I signed away the money meant to secure my old age. I told myself, it's okay, as long as my son has a solid start. Yet today he couldn't even send a text. All he probably remembers is the address of that house and the account number I transferred. Daniel, the youngest, the weakest of the three, kept me up nights worrying about his reckless debts. When he was 30, I paid off nearly $50,000 to save him from bankruptcy. I still see him sitting on the porch that day, head bowed, tears streaming, promising to change, to never disappoint me again. I believed him. I foolishly believed, and today, on my 65th birthday, he's vanished as if that debt never existed. I stand and walk to the small study, where the smell of old wood still lingers. On the bookshelf, a red folder sits quietly. I pull it out, dust clouding the air, but inside is a trove of bitter memories. Every bill, every bank statement, every receipt for tuition, mortgages, weddings. I haven't thrown out a single one. Others might see them as junk, but to me they're a diary of blood, sweat, and youth. I flip through the pages, the dry rustle like the sound of a buried past. There's a receipt. Tuition fee, University of California, $48,000. I remember that night, working a double shift in a freezing warehouse, hands cracked and bleeding, just to scrape together the money. Another bill from a bridal shop, Rachel's wedding dress, $12,000. I skipped meals for months, living on cheap canned food, so my daughter could walk beside her friends in the dress she dreamed of. A receipt from a car dealership. Down payment, $35,000. That was the first car I bought for Mark to get to work, while I drove an old pickup with a broken heater, wrapping myself in a blanket to survive winter. Each expense is a knife carved into my memory. I sacrificed my life, gave up dreams of retiring on the Oregon coast, forgot my wish for a small boat to fish, all because I thought fatherly love outweighed any cost. But tonight, staring at those cold numbers, I realize, to them I'm just a walking ATM, nothing more. I set the papers down, hands trembling but eyes clearer than ever. That clarity isn't hope anymore, it's resolve. I whisper to myself, voice hoarse. Every debt must be paid. They think I'm old, senile, weak. But they forget that in 65 years, I've learned to endure, to calculate, to rise from ashes. I'll turn these bills into weapons. and the day they realize their old father won't take it anymore will come soon. The phone buzzes on the desk, the screen glowing green against the old receipts. I see the caller, Rachel. My chest tightens. A foolish, weak part of me wants to believe she's calling to apologize, to say all three were wrong, that they'll come cut the cake late with their father. I pick up, voice shaky. Hello, Rachel. On the other end, her voice is soft but lacks warmth. Dad, I'm sorry about yesterday. We were so busy, you understand. Behind her, clinking glasses, thumping music, and raucous laughter. I squint, hands gripping the receiver. Busy? I repeat dryly. Rachel gives a faint laugh as if eager to end it. Yeah, work partners, you know. Don't be sad, Dad. We'll make it up another time. I hear someone whisper. Tell him to chill. It's just a birthday. A man's voice, probably her husband, followed by louder, rowdier laughter. In that moment, I feel like an outsider in my own family. A birthday passed as if it never existed. I swallow the lump in my throat, reply curtly, yeah, I understand. Then I hang up. Outside, streetlights cast shadows through the window, illuminating a family photo on the wall. Back then, little Rachel smiled brightly in my arms. Now that smile echoes only in memory. I stand, pacing the quiet room, each step echoing a heavy drumbeat in my chest. In my head, the laughter from the call mocks me, mingling with the numbers on the bills I just reviewed. Tuition, houses, weddings, debts, all piled into a mountain erased by a flippant apology. They don't remember, don't need to. They live in their own present, while their old father is just a shadow. I pick up the phone again. Scrolling social media, I torture myself. And there it is, a photo posted less than an hour ago. Rachel, Mark, Daniel, and their spouses in a fancy Portland restaurant. On the table, a rare bottle of wine worth a worker's monthly wage. The caption, family dinner, nothing more precious than family time. My heart feels crushed. Family time, family, and me, the man who turned his life into the foundation for them to sit in that restaurant. What am I? A name remembered when convenient, discarded when not. I zoom in on the photo, my eyes catching the pearl necklace gleaming on my daughter-in-law's neck. A piece I know well because I paid for it last month when she cried about needing an anniversary gift to save her marriage. I dipped into my emergency savings, telling myself, as long as my kids are happy. Now that necklace shines in a boastful photo, another knife twisting in my chest. The phone buzzes again. Mark this time. I don't answer. Then Daniel, a flood of texts. Sorry, Dad, we'll make it up to you. Don't be sad, it's just a day. And finally a smiley emoji, cold as a blade's edge. I set the phone down, hands trembling not from weakness but from suppressed rage. I return to the stack of bills. Each number now feels like evidence, a weapon. They think I'll cry, forgive, forget. But no, that call, those cheap apologies mixed with laughter was the final line. I feel an old flame rekindle in my chest, not love, but vengeance forged from years of being dismissed. Tonight I understand. I'm no longer the gentle father who accepts every hurt. From now on, I'm the keeper of secrets, the holder of proof, the one who will turn the tables. And when the day comes, the laughter they squandered today will become their desperate pleas. As I set the phone down, the screen lights up with a new email notification. Sender, Vanessa, Hall at Mark's wife. I frown. My daughter-in-law never emails me directly, usually going through Mark. I open it and my heart stops. Subject, guardianship draft, confidential. Attached is a 30-page PDF. She must have hit reply all by mistake. I sit frozen for a moment, breath quickening, then slowly scroll through. The first words hit like a stab. Plan to petition for emergency guardianship of Edward Miller, age 65. They refer to me by name, no dad, no respect. The following lines set my eyes ablaze. They prepared a fake medical report, signed by a doctor I met once at Emily's party. It claims I show signs of cognitive impairment, posing a risk to self and assets. I give a bitter laugh. 65 years of building, calculating every penny, and now they want to paint me as senile, handing my assets to them. In the email, Vanessa outlines a timeline. File Monday with medical certification. The court will only need a preliminary review. If he objects, we have witnesses. Daniel will testify. Dad forgot to pay the electric bill. Rachel will say he got lost last week. I drop the mouse, eyes blurring. All three, conspiring to rob me blind. And it's just 3 days away. I stand, crossing the living room. The half-eaten birthday cake sits there, candles melted into warped wax. I feel like I'm seeing myself through their eyes, a leftover, distorted, worthless thing. But after the pain, a cold surge rises. They want guardianship. I'll show them just how sharp this senile old man can be. I return to the desk, open the file cabinet, and pull out a small black notebook where I log important matters. Each page is filled with numbers, dates, amounts I spent on them. Now this notebook will be evidence, undeniable proof I'm fully aware and in control. I write a bold new line, counterattack plan. First, I call James Harlow, my old lawyer friend who helped with the house purchase. His voice is gruff but firm. Edward, I heard the kids are planning a guardianship petition? I summarize, then ask, if I want to revise my will immediately, is there a way to make it ironclad? James pauses, then says, yes, we'll set up an irrevocable trust now. You keep the right to live in the house, but assets transfer to charity or another beneficiary. Add a no contest clause. If they sue, they lose everything. My blood surges. Do it, I say curtly. Hanging up, I reopen Vanessa's email, reading the final addendum. I nearly laugh aloud. They even note legal fees will be drawn from Edward's assets. They plan to use my own money to sue me. This farce will fuel my anger into a plan. I imagine them in court, presenting fake evidence, only to be blindsided by James unveiling recorded conversations and my red folder of receipts, bills, proof. What will their faces look like then? Their arrogance will crumble like a broken mask. I write a letter by hand, pen steady. You chose to forget your father's sacrifices. You schemed, lied, and tried to bury me while I'm still alive. But I'm not a shadow for you to trample. The day you file for guardianship will be the day the truth is laid bare. I'll be waiting. I fold the letter, slip it into an envelope, and place it beside the red folder. Outside, Portland's rain patters on the roof. I step onto the porch, breathing the damp air, feeling every cell awaken. My 65th birthday ended in solitude, but tomorrow, a new Edward Miller rises. Not a soft father, but an enemy my children never imagined. The next morning, I wake earlier than usual. Portland's sky is overcast, a light drizzle falling, but my mind is clearer than ever. The red folder on the table feels like a sharpened sword. I know I can't wait for them to strike first. I have to attack. Show this senile old man isn't easily swallowed. I put on my old suit, the one I wore to weddings, graduations, and their mother's funeral. The collar's tight, sleeves frayed, but in the mirror my eyes burn bright, unlike yesterday's weariness. I grab the folder and drive to James Harlow's office. James greets me with a firm handshake. I reviewed your old will, he says. They have loopholes to exploit, especially with cognitive claims, but we'll rewrite it, lock every word. I nod, placing a USB on the table. In there, I say, is a recording of Mark from last night. He thought I didn't notice, but I activated the recorder in my watch. Listen. James plugs it in, and Mark's drunken voice fills the room. If Dad doesn't sign soon, the guardianship plan's dead. Vanessa says we need to push him before Monday. His laugh follows. James raises an eyebrow. Perfect. This is evidence of elder abuse conspiracy. If they file, we'll countersue immediately. The court will see them as schemers, not victims. I say nothing. Just slide the red folder's receipts to James. Look, tuition, weddings, houses, debts, all from my sweat. I kept them for decades, and now they're proof. If they call me senile, how does a confused man keep every receipt so meticulously? James flips through, nodding and jotting notes. You're turning your life's history into a fortress. No one can breach it. By noon, I'm back home, but don't go inside. I park out front, studying the wooden house by the river I built, beam by beam. To me, it's not just a house, it's a stronghold, and now I need to fortify it. In the car, I open my banking app. My fingers tremble as I navigate to authorized users. Familiar names, Rachel, Mark, Daniel, stare coldly from the screen. I take a deep breath and hit remove. One by one, they vanish. A prompt appears. This action cannot be undone. I tap agree. Instantly, I feel lighter. The first blow is struck. They haven't even filed for guardianship, and I've cut their lifeline. Supplementary cards canceled. Automatic transfers stopped. From today, every dollar in my account is mine to control. That afternoon, my phone buzzes relentlessly. Mark calls. Rachel texts. Daniel emails with the subject, Dad, we need to talk urgently. I don't respond. I sit in the living room, listening to the rain tap the tin roof like war drums. There's no more bitterness in me, only cold focus. They want to drag me to court, make me a puppet. But they don't know every step I take now is calculated. I'm not waiting for their betrayal. I'm one step ahead. When they open their eyes, they'll see the father they scorned has become their most formidable foe. The next afternoon, as Portland's rain drizzles outside, my phone lights up again. Mark calls, his voice eager as if nothing happened. Dad, let's have dinner tonight. My treat. It's been a while since we sat together. I smile, a cold smile he can't see. The invitation is too sudden, too convenient after I canceled their cards and transfers. They're getting anxious. I agree calmly. Sure, I'd like to see you. In my head, I've already mapped out the plan. I arrive at the restaurant early, sitting in a secluded corner, quietly placing my old watch on the table. To anyone, it's just a sentimental relic. But inside is the recording chip I reactivated this morning. That watch, a gift from their mother for our 20th anniversary, is now my eyes and ears. Mark arrives, designer shirt, polished shoes, reeking of cologne. He flashes a polite smile. but his eyes dart around like a predator's. As he sits, he starts. Dad, you doing okay? Rachel said you've been forgetful. Remember last week you missed the electric bill? I sip my water, feigning confusion. Oh, maybe I did forget. I let him gain confidence, let him think he's in control. Then he pulls out a neat stack of papers from his briefcase. Take a look, Dad. This is a draft financial plan for the family. We just want you secure in your old age. I glance at the papers. Power of attorney, bold on the first page. He's trying to trick me into signing a disguised authorization. I furrow my brow, hands trembling on the paper's edge. Is this necessary, son? I'm still sharp. Mark laughs, a fake chuckle. Of course, Dad, you're plenty sharp. But just in case, no one predicts the future. He lowers his voice as if sharing a secret. Vanessa's got everything ready. If you sign, we can handle the house. Accounts faster. You won't have to worry. Every word is captured by the watch on the table. I sit silent for a moment, staring into his eyes. In that instant, I see a stranger. Not the boy who laughed behind me in my rusty pickup, giggling over a mint ice cream I bought him. Before me now is a greedy, scheming man who sees his father as an obstacle to remove. I gently place my hand on the stack of papers, nodding slightly. All right, I'll think about it. His eyes light up, thinking I've softened. He quickly raises his glass. Don't worry, Dad, we'll take care of everything. I raise my glass too, hiding the smirk on my lips. In my mind, I whisper, keep talking, son. Every word you say today will be evidence to send you straight to court. As dinner ends, Mark enthusiastically pats my shoulder. Don't forget to sign soon, Dad, so I can handle the paperwork next week. I nod, slipping the papers into my bag as if convinced. But I know full well that in the watch on the table, his entire scheme has been recorded. Back home, I remove the watch and place it on the desk. The red light blinks, capturing every second of sound. I carefully copy the recording to a USB, storing it in the red folder. The second blow is ready. They think I'm old, senile, easily manipulated. But they have no idea that their every move is now being turned into a trap by me. And I, Edward Miller, have begun my counterattack. I couldn't sleep that night. The USB sits neatly in the drawer like a timed bomb, powerful enough to obliterate every excuse Mark and Vanessa might have. But I know one recording isn't enough. They've prepared a guardianship plan with fake doctors, forged lawyers, and staged witnesses. I need more undeniable evidence that even a judge can't ignore. Early in the morning, I drive to a small cafe by the river where the scent of waffles still lingers in the breeze. There I meet Carla Ruiz, a private investigator and former detective. We met years ago when she helped an old friend with an inheritance dispute. Carla, in her 50s with graying hair, has sharp eyes but a calm voice. I tell her everything, the mistaken emails, the fake power of attorney, and Mark's recording. She sits quietly, occasionally nodding, her fountain pen scratching notes. My experience, Carla says, is that when kids try to seize their parents' assets, they rarely use just one trick. If you've uncovered a fake POA, there's likely more behind it. I'll need access to bank records, loan files, and security footage. Nora Chen's name pops into my head. Nora was the branch manager at the bank where I've kept my savings for 30 years. We're not close, but she respects me for helping the bank recover funds quickly during a crisis. I call to set up a meeting. That afternoon, Carla joins me at the branch. Nora greets us in a small meeting room, pouring green tea into porcelain cups. When I mention that my son might have forged documents to mortgage the house, Nora frowns. Mr. Miller, there was something like that. Last month, someone named Mark brought a hard copy POA, requesting a $150,000 8-lock on this very house. The application was denied for lack of authenticity, but we kept a copy and the footage. A cold jolt runs down my spine. Carla immediately requests, I need a copy of the file and the security footage from that day. It's evidence of a financial fraud scheme. Nora nods, prints the records, and even shows us the video. The screen clearly shows Mark striding to the counter, papers in hand, exuding confidence as if he already owned the house. Behind him, none other than Emily, his wife, signing as a witness. Carla snapshots the screen, saving it to a portable drive. I stare at the image, my heart aching and cold. The son I trusted completely, now sneaking behind my back with his wife in a scam. But it doesn't end there. Carla digs further through her old police contacts. A few days later, she reports, Daniel, the weak youngest I bailed out of so many debts, used my SSN to open a credit card at an electronics store, buying dozens of items, and letting the debt go bad. This could constitute identity theft. I sit stunned in Carla's small office, staring at the black text on her report. My name, my social security number, but bills sent to Daniel's apartment. Each pricey gadget listed. Laptops, phones, Bluetooth speakers. Every line feels like a burning slap. Carla puts a hand on my shoulder, her voice firm. Mr. Miller, we now have 3 layers of evidence. 1, the recording of Mark's guardianship plot. 2, bank footage, and the rejected HELOC file. 3, Daniel's identity theft report. With this, if they dare drag you to court for guardianship, we'll crush them before the judge can even bang the gavel. I nod, but it's not just relief in me, it's rage cooling into steel. I recall nights hauling lumber at construction sites, meals gone cold just to save money for them. Now they repay me with betrayal and forgery. Fine, they chose money and law as their weapons. I'll use those same weapons to bring them down. That night back home, I opened the red folder, carefully adding 3 new sections: recording, bank footage, identity theft. I label them clearly, each word bold like a declaration of war. I know when the court day comes, these will be arrows piercing the greedy hearts of my traitorous children. I close the folder, sitting quietly by the window, watching the rain fall steadily on the roof. The house seems to whisper, "You built it with sweat and tears, now protect it with all your remaining strength." I nod. The war has officially begun, and I, Edward Miller, will not lose. I sit at James Harlow's desk on Monday morning, the small room filled with the bitter scent of coffee and the rustle of papers. Beside me, the red folder is open, each piece of evidence meticulously numbered. James looks at me, his eyes serious yet tinged with satisfaction. "Edward, you're not just defending anymore, you're about to attack." I nod, anger still smoldering inside. I know a smart move now isn't just changing the will, but making my kids think they're still winning. James places 2 stacks of papers before me, one labeled decoy will, the bait will, and the other irrevocable trust, the real irrevocable will. He explains carefully, the decoy will leaves assets to them, but it's just a document to accidentally leak. When they see it, they'll think their scheme is succeeding, but the real trust is legally binding. Everything goes to the Veterans Fund and Willamette Trade Scholarship. Your kids each get a symbolic $1. I stay silent for a moment, letting the words sink in. I imagine Rachel's face seeing her name in the decoy will, her eyes gleaming with greed, Mark tearing his hair out when he learns the assets went to the real trust, and Daniel drowning in debt collapsing when he gets just $1. The image makes me feel lighter than ever. But I want one more clause, I say slowly. No contest clause. If they dare sue, they lose even that $1. And add a fee-shifting clause. Whoever sues pays all my court and legal fees. James raises an eyebrow, then grins. You really want to corner them, I reply curtly. They chose this path. I'm just adding a few boulders. Signing the real trust, I feel like I'm cutting chains that bound me for decades. The pen moves across each page, leaving a trembling but resolute signature. Done, James says, notarizing it. The rubber stamps thud on the desk, sounding as firm as a final gavel. But it doesn't stop there, James suggests. To make them swallow the bait, we need the fake will to leak naturally. I think of Mark, the most impulsive. I'll subtly let him glimpse the decoy in my bag when I pretend to be careless. Once he tells Rachel and Daniel, they'll think they've won. And as they revel in that illusion, I'll flip the switch, exposing the truth. Back home, I open the safe, carefully separating the papers. The decoy is clipped in a pale blue folder, easy to spot. The real trust and all bank documents and evidence go into a hidden compartment behind my late wife's photo. I look at Ellen's picture, her eyes gentle. See that? I whisper. They think I'm prey, but this time they're the ones caught. That evening, I call Mark to help Dad review retirement papers. As planned, he eagerly rummages and his eyes light up when he spots the blue folder. I fake a cough, walk in, he jumps, shoving it back. I give a faint smile, pretending not to notice. In that moment, I know the fish has taken the bait. At night, I open my laptop, logging into the secret email account James set up. A timed email is ready. If I pass away, the real trust and a video of my statement will automatically go to the lawyer, court, and fund representative. There's no way for them to reverse it. In the dark room, I feel peace for the first time in years. They think they're manipulating a senile old man, but every move they make is on the chessboard I've laid out. And when the game ends, those greedy kids will be left with a single lonely number, $1. A week later, I get a text in the family group chat. Dad, we want to make up with a dinner. This Sunday, Riverfront Restaurant, 7 p.m. Don't say no. The message comes with a red heart emoji and a smiley face. I look at the fake words and let out a dry laugh. They think a few remorseful lines can erase years of treating their father like a shadow. But I agree, because this dinner is the next card to play. Riverfront Restaurant sits by the Willamette, its golden lights reflecting on the water, exuding elegance. I walk in, seeing my 3 kids waiting. Rachel waves, her smile forced. Mark stands to pull out my chair. Daniel fidgets with his water glass, playing the dutiful son. I sit, calmly observing. On the table is an expensive imported wine. I know well that such luxuries were never paid for with their money. Throughout the meal, they take turns with sweet words. Dad, we're sorry we missed your birthday. Rachel starts, voice soft. Work was crazy, but we always think of you. Mark chimes in. Exactly, don't misunderstand, Dad. We just want you secure in your old age. Daniel nods repeatedly, his eyes dripping with pretense. I smile, saying nothing, letting them sink deeper into their clumsy act. But as I predicted, the masks slip. While Rachel pours more wine, I overhear her whisper to Mark, "If the house sells, split 3 ways, we'll each manage fine." I sip my wine, pretending not to hear, but my ears are sharp. Clearly they've sniffed the bait from the fake will Mark saw. At the meal's end, I set my glass down, voice slow. "I have a gift for you all. Consider it a makeup for my birthday." 3 pairs of eyes light up like cats spotting prey. I pull 3 small keys from my pocket, placing one before each. These are for lockers in a storage unit downtown. Inside are things I've prepared for each of you. Rachel grips her key, eyes gleaming like she's won the lottery. Mark tries to stay calm, but his mouth twitches. Daniel blurts, "Thank you, Dad, we didn't expect." I study their faces, memorizing their greedy expressions. The next evening, as expected, they head to the storage unit. Inside aren't riches or valuables, but 3 thick boxes of files. Each holds copies of receipts, bills, and a letter in my handwriting. In it, I wrote, "This is my gift, the truth. Every dollar I spent, every sacrifice I made, it's all here. You can call it a debt, and I believe one day, a court will call it evidence." That night, my phone buzzes nonstop. Rachel texts, "Dad, what's this game? Why give me a box of debt papers?" Mark, "Are you threatening us, Dad?" "Don't forget we saw the will." Daniel calls repeatedly, voice trembling. "Dad, I didn't mean to." "You know that." I sit in my armchair, sipping hot tea, watching the blinking screen with an oddly calm heart. They don't realize the keys didn't just open boxes. They opened a new door in the game I'm leading. They think they're about to take everything, but they're stepping deeper into the maze I've set. And I, Edward Miller, am starting to savor each moment of my traitorous kids floundering in the trap called truth. The next morning, I wake early, brew a strong black coffee, and sit by the window overlooking the Willamette River flowing under pale sunlight. Last night, my phone was flooded with angry texts, accusations, even threats. Rachel called me cruel. Mark growled in a voicemail that "You'll regret taking this too far." Daniel sobbed, begging. I listened to every word, missing nothing, but didn't reply. To me, their voices are just background music for this morning's plan. At 9 sharp, I'm at James Harlow's office. My old friend is ready with a notarized stack of documents. "Edward, today we end the games," James says, sliding a thick packet toward me. I take a deep breath, signing each page. The irrevocable trust takes effect. My entire estate, the Riverside house, savings, lumber company shares, transfers immediately to the Veterans Fund and Willamette Trade Scholarship. My 3 kids each get a symbolic $1. But there's more. James added a no-contest clause. If any of them sue, they lose even that $1 and must cover all my court and legal fees. I read each line, my heart steady as if closing an old door. When the red stamp hits the final page, I know everything is secure. No one can take what I've decided. That morning, James helps me prepare 3 sealed envelopes, each containing a copy of the new will. I suggest sending them openly, James says, so they have no room to deny. I nod. This game needs light to expose every fallen mask. That afternoon, I send all 3 envelopes via certified mail with signature confirmation. Within 2 hours, my phone explodes. Rachel calls first, screaming, "Are you insane, Dad? You gave everything to outsiders, and your kids get what? $1. I stay silent, letting her hear her own greed. Mark is cold. "Think this wins you the game? Fine, see you in court." I smirk, replying curtly, "I'm ready." Daniel sobbing, "Dad, I messed up. I need money to pay debts, or they'll kill me." I cut him off. "I've paid your debts a dozen times, Daniel. Enough." Then I hang up. That evening, I open my laptop, accessing the camera to record a video for James to keep. In it, I sit in the living room, the old family photo behind me. My voice is slow but clear. I, Edward Miller, am fully sane signing this trust. This isn't blind revenge. This is justice. I sacrificed my life for my children, but got betrayal and schemes in return. I choose to let my estate serve those who deserve it. Veterans, young workers learning trades. My kids will learn the biggest lesson. Love isn't a bank. I save it, sending copies to James and Nora Chen at the bank, ensuring no one can bury this video. As night falls, I sit alone in the living room, my shadows stretching long on the wooden floor. I know tomorrow things will erupt. Rachel will call lawyers. Mark will rage. Daniel will beg, but I'm no longer trembling. I've made my move, flipped the board to my advantage. The half-full wine glass sits on the table. I lift it, clinking it to the air, a toast to myself. "Happy late birthday," I whisper. The greatest gift is freedom. 3 days after they receive the envelopes with the new will, as I predicted, they make their desperate move. A notice from Multnomah County Court arrives in my mailbox. An emergency guardianship petition filed by Rachel and Vanessa, with evidence that I've lost cognitive capacity. I let out a dry laugh, reading their lies. Rachel claims I can't remember my grandkids' birthdays. Mark says I let bills pile up unpaid. Daniel states I got lost multiple times, forgetting the way home. All scripted to paint me as a senile old man. They don't know I've been waiting for this day to drop the curtain. On the morning of the hearing, I wear a light gray suit, a navy tie Ellen bought for our 30th anniversary. In the mirror, my eyes are clear, steady. James Harlow walks beside me, carrying a thick folder labeled counterclaim evidence. He tilts his head. Edward, today we don't just defend. Today we strike. The courtroom glows with neon light. My 3 kids and their spouses sit opposite, faces tense but eyes still smug. Rachel avoids my gaze. Mark clenches his jaw. Daniel stares down, hands clasped. As the judge bangs the gavel, the room quiets. Their lawyer stands, arguing I'm no longer fit to manage significant assets. He presents a medical report signed by Emily's doctor friend. I see Emily's hand tremble as she places it on the judge's table, not from emotion, but fear. Then James takes the floor, voice clear. Your Honor, the petitioner's claims are not only false but show serious signs of fraud. Allow me to present. He opens the USB, and the courtroom screen plays Mark's voice from my watch's recording. If Dad doesn't sign soon, the guardianship plan's dead. Vanessa says we need to push him before Monday. Mark's arrogant laugh echoes, his face paling. James doesn't stop. He presents the HELOC loan file copy and bank footage showing Mark and Emily with forged documents to mortgage the house. This is a fraudulent attempt, financial forgery, James emphasizes. Murmurs spread through the room. Emily bows her head. Mark flushes red, lips trembling. Then James lands the final blow. A credit agency report confirming Daniel used my SSN for a credit card, racking up bad debt. I glance at Daniel, his shoulders hunched, eyes panicked like a child caught red-handed. The judge listens, bangs the gavel twice. The court denies the petitioner's emergency guardianship request for lack of basis. Conversely, the defendant's evidence suggests elder abuse and forgery. I will forward all files to the criminal investigation unit. The room erupts. Rachel screams, "No, this is a setup," but her voice drowns in the crowd's whispers. Mark sits frozen, staring at the floor. Daniel sobs, hands covering his face. I sit still, hands clasped, feeling a weight lift. As the hearing ends, I stand, adjust my tie, and walk out. Local reporters wait, cameras flashing. One asks, "Mr. Miller, anything to say about your children?" I pause, looking straight into the lens, voice calm. Love and sacrifice aren't for exploitation. If someone chooses betrayal, they must learn to pay the price. In that moment, I know my first counterstrike succeeded. They thought they could make me a helpless old man, but today, before the judge in public, I proved I'm still sharp, sane, and more dangerous than ever. When I too, Pumley. After the hearing, I return home with a rare calm, but I know the battle isn't over. Dismissing their guardianship petition was just the opening shot. To fully stop their schemes, I must do what I've never dared in years, cut off the money. If I let my dollars keep flowing to them, all my efforts will be for nothing. I sit in my study, opening my laptop. The blue light reflecting off the old bills in the red folder. The screen lists monthly expenses I've mindlessly let them enjoy. Each line is a blade. Mark, $1,500 automatic transfer for his mortgage. Daniel, $600 credit card debt payment monthly. Rachel, $400 for temporary utility bills, ongoing for 3 years. I take a deep breath and begin. First, the bank account. I log into recurring payments. My fingers decisively click cancel next to Mark's mortgage payment. A prompt appears. Are you sure? This action cannot be undone. I press yes. Instantly, I feel like a noose has been lifted from my neck. Next, the credit cards. I call the hotline, requesting removal of all authorized users. The polite operator asks, "Are you sure you want to remove Daniel Miller and Rachel Carter from the account?" I reply curtly, yes, immediately. Moments later, the system confirms. I picture Daniel's face when he swipes his card for the next gadget and gets a declined notice. A cold satisfaction rises in me. It doesn't stop there. I call the car insurance company. In the policy, besides my old pickup, 2 cars are registered under Mark and Daniel's names. For 3 years, I've paid $280 monthly for their insurance. I tell the agent, remove the 2 cars not owned by me. She confirms, promising to send updated contract papers. I hang up, lean back in my chair, feeling for the first time in years that my wallet truly belongs to me. That evening, my phone rings incessantly. Mark yells in a voicemail, "Dad, why hasn't this month's mortgage been paid? The bank called saying you canceled it. Do you want us to lose our house?" Rachel texts, "Dad, why was the utility bill returned? Don't you know I have young kids at home?" Daniel is the most desperate. "Dad, my card won't swipe. I need money urgently, or the creditors will come." I listen to each word, then delete them all. No response. The next day, I meet Nora Chen at the bank. She hands me a thick printout. Mr. Miller, this is the history of payments you've automatically made for your children. Nearly $800,000 over 15 years. I take the papers, my heart twisting, but no longer with pain. Instead, there's cold clarity. I fold them, slip them into the red folder. Thank you, Nora. I'll need these as final evidence. As I cut off their funds, news of the trial spreads across the city. A local paper runs a story. 65-year-old father fights back, accuses children of plotting to seize assets. Neighbors nod at me on the street. You did the right thing, Edward. They needed to know who built it all. I stay silent, but inside I feel an affirmation I haven't felt in years. At night I sit in the living room, streetlights casting shadows through the window. The phone buzzes again. This time it's a video call from Rachel. I answer, seeing all 3 kids in a room, faces tense. Rachel starts. Dad, we need to talk. You can't just cut everything off like this. This is family. I look straight at the screen, voice low. Family is family when parents give everything, and kids repay with betrayal. If that's the family in your minds, I choose to live alone. Mark cuts in, voice sharp. You'll regret this. Without us, you'll just be lonely. I smile faintly. Wrong, Mark. I've just found my freedom. I hit the end button, leaving their stunned faces on the screen. I lean back, hearing my steady heartbeat. Cutting off the money wasn't just a financial move. It was a declaration. From now on, they have no right to leech, no excuse to impose. The war has entered a new phase, and this time, I hold all the cards. Portland's night is pitch black. Rain pattering on the old porch roof as I sit in the living room. A steaming mug of tea beside me. I know what's coming. The restlessness in my chest isn't fear, but preparation. And then at 8 sharp, urgent knocks echo. Without checking the peephole, I know who it is. I open the door. Rachel, Mark, and Daniel stand under the rain, coats soaked, faces a mix of anger, desperation, and tension. Mark steps in first, without a greeting, voice low and sharp. Dad, are you trying to ruin us like this? Cutting all the money, canceling insurance, we're a laughingstock. Rachel jumps in, eyes red but voice icy. Do you know the bank called me? They said my credit score is tanking because you stopped payments? You're destroying our future. Daniel stands at the back, silent, hands trembling, nails digging into his skin. I look at all 3, then quietly say, Come in. Tonight we'll settle everything. The living room glows with light. On the oak table I've laid out a thick stack of papers, the small USB and the 3 boxes from storage. The air is so tense you can hear the clocks ticking. I sit in my armchair, gesturing. Sit. Tonight I'm no longer the gentle father. Tonight is a trial. Mark scoffs, dripping with contempt. A trial? You think this nonsense scares anyone? I don't reply, just plug the USB into the laptop connected to the wall-mounted screen. Mark's voice rings out clearly. If Dad doesn't sign soon, the guardianship plan's dead. Vanessa says we need to push him before Monday. His smug laugh echoes through the room. Rachel flinches, turning to him. Daniel stares at the floor. I pause the recording, looking straight at Mark. You called me senile, but what senile man hides a recorder in his watch? Mark's face turns purple, about to retort, but Rachel bursts into tears. I give no one a chance. I place the bank's printed documents on the table, flipping to the security footage. Mark and Emily at the counter, submitting fake papers to get a HELOC on this very house. His face is clear on the screen. The room falls silent, only the rain tapping the windows. This is evidence number 2, I say slowly. My son tried to scam the bank with forged papers, turning my house into collateral for his own debt. Rachel chokes on her words. Daniel looks up, voice trembling. I wasn't involved. I turn to him, tossing the credit report on the table. The numbers, addresses, and forged signatures stand out starkly. You used my social security number to open a credit card, bought stuff, then let the debt go bad. Did you know that's a crime? Identity theft. They could jail you for that, Daniel. Daniel pales, hands clutching his head. Rachel gasps, whispering, Oh my God. I stand, voice low and resonant like a gavel's strike. This is my indictment. You 3 used my blood and sweat to build your castles. I paid for tuition, houses, weddings, debts, nearly $800,000. But in return, you called me a burden, a senile fool plotting to cage me with a guardianship petition. Rachel sobs, Dad, I was scared you couldn't manage your assets. Silence. I snap, my voice shaking the room. You weren't scared I'd lose my mind. You were scared I was too sharp, knowing every penny I sacrificed for you. Mark grits his teeth, trying to regain control. You can smear us, but you still need us. You'll die alone without us. I look at him, eyes cold. Wrong. From now on, you need me. I've locked every money stream, changed my will, transferred assets to an irrevocable trust. You 3 get $1 each, and if you sue, you lose even that. No one speaks. Rachel chokes on sobs. Daniel trembles, on the verge of collapse. Mark glares, eyes red with rage, but fear creeps in. I sit, ending the family trial with one sentence. You made me the defendant for years. Tonight, I return the role. From now on, the truth is your sentence. The rain outside falls harder like the night's applause. I stand, leave the living room, and let the three sit in the pale yellow light, realizing for the first time they've been judged in this very house. The next morning, Portland wakes in a thick fog, and the first news begins to seep out like an unfixable crack. I sit in my armchair, hot coffee in hand, watching texts and emails flood in. What I expected has arrived, their cascading collapse. First, Mark. His construction company sends a termination notice. Reason: ethical violations and involvement in financial fraud under investigation. I'm not surprised. The bank footage Carla retrieved went straight to their legal department. The image of him and Emily presenting forged papers has spread internally, turning him from a promising director to a fraudster. I picture him leaving the office with a box of belongings, colleagues' eyes cold. Then Rachel, an old friend, sends me a news link. Holland Carter's startup loses $1 million deal amid family scandal. Partners pulled out, citing lack of financial transparency. I know the copied bills and letter I left in the storage boxes were accidentally leaked. Rachel, once proud as a successful woman, now scrambles with an empty company, her reputation in ashes. Daniel falls fastest. His desperate texts pour in. Dad, the creditors came to my house. I don't know what to do. The identity theft discovery led the bank to freeze his cards, his credit score plummeting. I hear the panic of a man drowned by his own greed. But the biggest shock hits Vanessa, Mark's wife. Her internal emails to the lawyer plotting the guardianship were leaked via a friend in James's law office. The press publishes excerpts. If we control Edward Miller's assets, we can use them to secure Series B funding. Investors, outraged at the unethical scheme, pull funding en masse, and her startup's value crashes to zero overnight. The news hits like dominoes. From my riverside home, I watched their greedy web collapse. They thought I was old, easy to control, unaware that one gentle tug, a few leaked pieces of evidence, would wash their sandcastle away. That afternoon, as the sun peeks through the fog, I step onto the porch. The air is crisp, strangely pure. My phone buzzes, likely with pleas, apologies, or threats. I ignore it. On the other end are desperate voices I no longer need to hear. I've won, and my silence now is their final sentence, heavier than any reprimand. Saturday morning, as the sun rises over the Willamette River, I don a navy suit, tie knotted neatly, and drive to the community center. Today is the announcement of the Willamette Trade Scholarship Fund, where my entire estate has been officially transferred. On stage, rows are packed with veterans, young apprentices in work clothes, and local press. As I step to the podium, applause thunders, not for my wealth but my decision. I stand quietly for a moment, scanning the hundreds of eyes, then speak slowly. I, Edward Miller, am 65. I spent my life as a father, husband, hardworking craftsman. I sacrificed my youth so my kids could have education, homes, decent weddings. But I got betrayal and schemes in return. They tried to drag me to court, paint me as senile, to steal everything. But today I stand here, lucid, free, and I'm giving my estate not to greedy children, but to people who value the worth of labor. The room falls silent, my voice echoing. I pull a thick envelope from my pocket. In my will, I left my kids another gift, a chance. Each can claim a small portion from a second chance subtrust, but with conditions. 1, they must complete 500 hours of community service. 2, they must repay 50% of what I spent on them. If they do this, they'll have a path back. If they choose to sue or slander, they lose everything. This door opens once. I pause, glancing to the back of the hall. There, Rachel, Mark, and Daniel sit, not out of honor, but curiosity or lingering hope. Rachel's face is flushed, eyes teary. Mark stares at the floor, jaw clenched. Daniel slumps, a man who's lost it all. I'm not just looking at my kids. I'm staring at 3 betrayers now facing their conscience's verdict. I'm no longer angry, I continue, voice softer. Anger only prolongs tragedy. I choose justice, and justice means my kids must learn to stand on their own, or live forever in the greedy shadow they created. I'm no longer their bank. I've closed the last window but left a small door if they truly want redemption. Applause roars through the room. I see old veterans stand, tears in their eyes. A young man in a carpenter's uniform approaches, handing me a small wooden box engraved. Thank you, Mr. Miller. Inside is an exquisite wooden hammer. I smile, eyes misty, but my heart lighter than ever. As the ceremony ends, I step onto the community center's porch. Late autumn sunlight bathes the street in gold. Rachel approaches, eyes red, voice trembling. Dad, I'll try. I'll do the 500 hours, I promise. Mark stands silently behind, unable to meet my gaze. Daniel whispers, I'm sorry, Dad. I look at them, nodding. The door's open. Step through or not, it's up to you. That night, back at my riverside home, I pour a glass of wine sitting on the porch as dusk settles over the water. At 65, I blew out candles alone, but now I'm no victim. I'm the one who set the rules, rewrote the game. And if my kids return one day, redeemed, I might open my arms. If not, I still have genuine smiles from those who value what I've left behind. I raise my glass, whispering, to my 66th birthday, I'll invite those who deserve it. And this time there'll be cake, candles, and laughter. In Edward Miller's story, a 65-year-old father betrayed and targeted by his children's plot to seize his assets through a fake guardianship petition. We see a stark reflection of life in America today. In a society valuing personal worth, financial independence, and self-determination, many parents face exploitation by their own children or relatives, especially regarding wills and asset management. Edward's story reminds us that love shouldn't mean letting others exploit your sacrifices. By canceling supplementary cards, stopping automatic payments, and publicly amending his will, he not only protected his life's work, but sent a powerful message. In America, control over your assets and life is inviolable if you're lucid and stand up. Details like Mark's recorded scheme to force his father's signature, bank footage of fraudulent attempts, or Daniel's use of his father's SSN for credit card fraud highlight the growing issue of financial elder abuse in the U.S. The lesson is that everyone must prepare for old age with legal tools like irrevocable trusts, no contest clauses, and meticulous financial records. More importantly, the story underscores that family respect must come with responsibility. Parental love isn't an unlimited check. In today's America, a society championing fairness and freedom, protecting yourself and saying no is also a form of true love. If Edward Miller's story resonates with you, please subscribe to catch more profound life lessons. Thank you for joining, and see you in the next video with more stirring and powerful stories.